This podcast is not for children. It's a podcast in which four friends get together and try and amaze each other with facts about science or how we found out those facts about science enough that someone else in the podcast will say, "Holy fucking science!" Hey everybody, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Yeah, pretty good.
Oh, good. Today we are joined by Alyssa Lerner. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Welcome.
Adjusting to the time zone.
Yeah, just came back from New York City.
Mm-hmm. And we just changed the clocks.
Yeah, daylight
so it's
saving
like
time.
3
Oh,
hours.
Switch.
Oh man.
It's okay.
I just said that, and now like I got that Pace Picante salsa commercial
New
in my
York
head.
City.
Pace is made by folks who know what salsa should taste like, unlike those New York City people. Who makes salsa in New York City? There's no like land for like tomato processing.
No, but there's probably some people who can make some really good salsa in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
no,
actually
there's a
illegal
lot of
to
cool
farm land on New York City. And maybe not in all of New York
Wait,
City, but
what?
they had to like get special permission to set up a farm for an art project in like Lower Manhattan.
It's
and
because
illegal to
because they didn't
farm
own the
in
land?
New York City.
It may be the public land.
Okay.
Something. I don't know.
Something
They
to
also
do
had
with
to set up.
somebody
They set up a
Somebody
farm on a
just-
boat because they couldn't
do it
get
on a
permission to
boat.
do the
Boat
farm anywhere
I love
else.
it.
That's good.
Oh.
That's really cool.
Mm. Anyway, farms, Montana. It's cold here. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Super cold here.
I'm sorry.
It's 25 degrees and no one's wearing a jacket. Whatever.
No,
Well, it's
I
cold
am.
in
I'm
New York, right?
freezing.
It's like when I left it was in the 50s.
Oh,
So
that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Sam Schultz is also here today.
Hey,
How's it going?
good, how are you?
Good. How's your Big Sky Brewery Powderhound winter ale?
It's great. They got new cans, or am I
I like
imagining
it.
that?
I like
Yeah,
it.
new
I like
art.
the design.
Yeah.
It looks good. It's bold.
Good colors. Very good
We're all
colors.
drinking the same beer because this is their winter brew, and
It's
they just
winter,
came out because
baby.
it got to be winter. So we're all very excited that it's back.
today I learned there's such a thing as a winter brew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they basically they have seasonals. So
Yeah.
for this precise reason, so we can be like, I haven't had it in 6 months.
Right.
Somebody give me that beer now.
It's not like an ingredient they can't get any other time of the year.
No,
right?
they just sprinkle snow in there.
It's
Santa's
pumpkin
in-
spice lattes for beer, but not pumpkin.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
God, a
Got a
pumpkin
little
spice latte
Santa
beer
magic.
would
It exists.
make me lose my faith in humanity.
You can get
Pumpkin
them
beer,
right down the
it's
street
a
at
thing.
Warden's.
Pumpkin
beer is
beer,
a
but not-
thing,
but
not
not
pumpkin
latte beer.
CSL beer.
No, that would be weird.
Well, maybe not like that exact chemical goo that is pumpkin spice latte, but I bet there is.
Probably.
There's
is.
pumpkin
Yeah.
spice latte potato chips, I'm pretty sure.
I once got a beer called Baby Cookie Cream Ale, and I thought that it was gonna be like Oreo-y
That's creepy.
flavor, main flavor of this cream ale that has the word cookie in it,
And baby.
and baby, just hot black pepper. Like
They had
like
to do that on purpose.
capsaicin. Like
That's an accident, right?
I was like,
oh my
out
gosh.
my mouth.
They for sure do that just to mess with the people who think that baby cream whatever ale sounds nice, and then they make it the worst one.
Baby
Yeah.
cookie cream ale.
It was
That's
intense.
so weird.
Like-
That was
people.
super intense. I
Every
had to have
flavor
friends over to
beans.
finish it.
Oh man.
Did you trick them?
They're
with
It
not
had
that?
to be
friends
like
anymore.
everybody's like having a taste, and then they have a PBR afterward. Just to make
Cleanse the palate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the best beer. No, sorry, this is the best beer.
Yeah, our sponsor makes the best beer. Big Sky Brewing Company, Montana, USA. It says Montana, USA on it, which is interesting. We were also are joined by Caitlin Hofmeister.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Who decided on the topic today?
I think I did a long
Sam
time
did.
ago.
Yeah.
Oh, it's your
Yeah.
idea.
We were supposed to, so I wanted to get the topic is extreme foods. So what I wanted to do originally was get some civet coffee and like the cheese with the maggots in it that jump at you as you take bites of it. But all that stuff
Wait,
is
the
like,
maggots are in it when you're eating it?
yeah.
And they're
You have
alive?
to-
And they're jumping?
This
I
is
don't
not
think
my subject, but here's a sub-subject. Yes. I don't know why they're in there, and I think a lot of this stuff you look it up and it's like traditionally there's just maggots in it for some reason. So I think like you're supposed to like shield your eyes so they don't jump into your eyes. They'll jump
What
into
happens
your
if
nose.
they
They wear
jump into your
special
eyes?
cheese eating
It's
glasses.
just probably really gross. It maybe hurts a little bit for a
There's
second, but it's
nobody
just gross.
I would prefer to talk to this with than you. Just in the whole
It
war.
just hurts a little
Uh,
bit. No
yeah.
big deal.
But all that stuff costs thousands of dollars. I
Civet
thought-
coffee is so expensive.
Yeah.
I've looked into it because I'm really curious because it's supposed to be so delicious.
Yeah.
Like,
And I
I just
love
like
coffee.
plain coffee.
And
So
for people
Yeah.
who don't know, this is coffee that's passed through the digestive system of a civet,
Yeah.
which is like a
Which is
cat.
like a weird cat monkey thing.
yeah,
Right?
I don't
that's
know.
that's how
I
I
don't know if it's a cat
describe them.
monkey. I
I
thought they were just cats. So servo is what I'm thinking of. Civet.
A civet is, I think it's called a civet cat, but it is
Mm-hmm.
like it's a tree dwelling.
A civet is a
Little guy.
small, lithe-bodied, mostly nocturnal mammal native to tropical Asia and Africa. It's in thing. It's the Viveridae. Anybody know what Viveridae is?
No, but it's not a cat.
Well, this thing
Good
looks like a
point.
cat.
Yeah.
They definitely call them
They look
cats.
like
Sometimes
raccoons,
you'll
kind
see
of.
like
Yeah.
this coffee went through the digestive system of a cat.
It's probably just not the big cat family that I'm thinking of.
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that purr and or roar.
Yeah. I don't think civets purr.
They don't look much like cats really either, do
Oh,
they?
they look a little like
percolate.
weasels. They're like cat weasels.
Yeah.
They're like dog, weasel, cat monkeys.
Can you get them as pets?
I would hug it if it didn't have so many teeth.
Yeah, probably not. They're very scary.
Mm.
They seem like possum type mean things, maybe.
But you feed them
Possums aren't
coffee.
mean.
But I've heard possums are really nice, actually, so I take it back. Sorry, possums. They just look scary.
They sure
They
do look scary.
mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know the thing about possums? We're going to get to our topic eventually. But so Catherine my wife worked at a wildlife rehab place for a while. And when a possum is born, it's terrible. And then
It's a terrible being, or like
The birth
it
is
just
terrible.
looks terrible.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know. I think possum birth is...
They're just born in their
born-
assholes, and then they get nicer.
and their ass. I thought they were in
Yeah,
their ass.
their Which would be terrible.
Yeah. I think they're marsupials. So they're born like little pinkies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But once they like become fuzzy, they're super adorable
Mhm.
for the first 2 months, and then somebody in heaven flips a switch and they become
Science.
monsters, and they're just like are terrible, and
Aw.
it happens very fast. But there's this period where
They
they're just
peak.
perfect little like I want to cuddle with you all the time.
Mhm.
You can Google possum babies; they're adorable, and then just Google adult possum and be like, that thing looks like it literally has leprosy.
They're kind of okay. When they're not making their bad
They
face,
look
they're
like
kind
fuzzy
of okay.
alien creatures.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's
yeah.
okay. I mean,
Totally, but
I
it's
prefer
like a little
fuzzy alien
freaky.
creature,
Yeah,
but
me
yeah.
too.
I don't
Or
know.
a feathered one.
They have rough lives, I feel like, and they spend a lot of time
Yeah.
in the trash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. They
And-
probably love it though.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Speaking of extreme food,
Uh-huh.
they eat out of the trash. Way to bring it back.
My extreme food is I brought civet steak for all of us to try. Not civet coffee, but just a dead
Okay.
civet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not actually.
But it hasn't pooped in a while, so it's almost like
It's full of the coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna rinse some beans
Like
off.
it's caffeinated meat.
Yeah. Whoa.
Ooh.
I think that's a thing. Don't
I
they
think it
like
is too.
they give
Wait, what?
Angus cows like espresso or something, or maybe they just rub espresso on
Yeah.
them.
There's definitely an
Not sure how meat
espresso rub you
works.
can do on a meat.
I did look up there. So there are animals that instead of being slaughtered are euthanized. So a pig that was used for medical research, and there are very specific laws that say you cannot take a pig that was used in medical research and put it into the food system, because when you euthanize them or when you do medical studies on them, there's stuff in them that you don't want people
Yeah.
eating necessarily.
Gotcha.
Particularly the euthanasia drugs,
Right.
which are still very much in the tissues when they die, because they die and their liver stopped functioning.
Right.
It's just like sitting there. So yeah, there's rules about that stuff. Animals that you eat have to be slaughtered. They can't be euthanized. So that's why we still do it that way.
I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it, but
Yeah.
It's also cheaper to just hit them in the
Yeah.
head with a bolt gun.
yeah.
This episode might have a fair amount of stuff that would not make a vegetarian super comfortable.
Yeah,
Victoria
so
Bongiorno,
pleasant.
if
I'm
you're
glad
listening
Victoria is
right
not
now.
here.
When we were talking about, me and Stefan were talking about my subject, and I could see her looking at me from her desk with the mean look on her face.
Oh.
Well, it's not my fault. I wasn't saying, I'm going to go eat whatever I'm going to
maggot
talk
cheese.
about.
What you're going to talk about doesn't seem mean.
But there's the other one.
All right, well, let's
Oh,
get
we'll
to
get
it
there.
before
Yeah.
we
We'll
get
get
all
there. We'll
bleak. Let's go in order of the person who last ate a meat.
Is an egg a meat?
No.
Wait,
what-
which person
Okay.
goes first? The person who most
who
recently?
most recently ate a
Mhm.
meat? You wanted me to know so that you could lie correctly.
Yes, if I have to. Only if I have to.
I'll only lie
Only
if I
if
need
I
to lie
have
to
to.
create
Only
the
if it's
desired outcome
convenient.
for myself. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what lies are. Sometimes I lie and it makes it worse for me. And I'm like, why did I do that?
As long as I'm being honest about the fact that I'm lying, I think it's
Right.
okay.
I can't even remember. What did I have for food today? I left the house and I had a balance bar. I had cheesy bread. I had some Reese's Cups. I might not be the healthiest person.
Oh my god, that thing on Twitter
loud.
where it's like list your middle name and the last thing you ate today. Like everyone in the office is like has a different kind of candy.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm like, we don't eat real food.
Almost everybody is just Reese's Cups.
My licorice was medicinal licorice. So
Oh, medicinal licorice.
yeah,
I
heartburn
must
licorice.
have eaten meat today. I didn't. I haven't eaten any meat today.
I ate meat yesterday. I
I
had a hamburger
definitely-
for dinner.
Yeah. Well, this is gonna get hard. Do you?
I
eat
can't
any
remember.
meat today?
I'm going. I think. No, I haven't eaten any meat this week. I don't.
Oh
think.
no, I did have
Holy
meat
moly.
today. I had meat for like my middle lunch. I had leftovers from last night, which was Indian food,
Okay.
and there was some chicken in that.
Okay.
Sam,
So
what
it's-
time did you eat dinner?
Probably 8:40.
Okay. I had it less recently than you. So I also had meat for dinner last night, but it was earlier than you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't remember. Like if eggs don't count, I don't remember the last time I ate meat.
So
So
you're
it's
gonna-
probably
you're
last
So
gonna
you're
week.
go
last,
yeah.
probably.
Okay.
And I'm second, and you're first.
Yeah.
Okay.
oof. All right, you guys. So mine is about meat. So, why do we not eat horse meat?
Because horses are cute, and we have crushes on them when we're middle school girls.
Yeah.
and
That part's true.
It turns into glue.
Mm-hmm.
Don't they sometimes auction them off for slaughter, though?
Oh, right. To be clear, people do eat horse meat.
Okay.
But in America, it's pretty taboo to eat horse meat, and in most
Okay.
Western cultures, it's pretty
Maybe
taboo to eat
because
horse
we
meat.
love Game of Thrones.
We love no, because they eat horses in Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, but
I
it's
know.
always sad when the horse dies, and usually they try to make it so the horses don't die. I feel like
Yeah.
Mhm.
everybody's very careful not to shoot the horse with the arrow. Even though if you were in a war, I would be shooting
I
everybody's
think it's
horse
because
with an
it's
arrow.
difficult to train a horse to die
Oh.
on camera.
Oh yeah, okay.
That that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we don't eat horse meat, because it's difficult to have them look like they die on camera.
Probably because they were so useful to us for so long that we.
But here's the thing. So horses are absolutely useful until they aren't anymore. And then when your horse isn't useful anymore, it is still
Doesn't
useful.
taste good.
Yeah, old
No.
meat doesn't taste good.
But it's still useful, right? If you're like if you're following the path, it's like, okay, well, the horse can't provide economic value to me in this way anymore. So thus, either I eat it or I sell it to someone who's gonna
Which is like
slaughter
what you
it
do
to
with
eat
the
it.
chicken. Like you take the eggs
right until it's time for meat.
Yeah.
Though, to be clear, we don't eat layers for the most part in America. But
Yeah.
so yes, there's definitely a component of they are pet companion animals, and we don't like the idea of that. Like the same reason we don't eat cats and dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably more to it than that. So, other reasons we might not eat horses include that in times when Christianity was interfacing with pagan cultures, there was always usually a component of sacrifice of a horse and then proceeding to consume that sacrifice in the pagan culture. And that's Scandinavia, that's cultures in the British Isles stuff. And so eating horse meat was connected with being a pagan, and so was like super not
Culturally
so it was
frowned
like,
upon
yeah,
later.
right. So it was like if you were like eating a horse, it was like ay ay ay, that guy. He
What a
doesn't.
Yeah,
he's not,
Christians were
he's
saying
not
that.
friends with
Pagan over
Jesus.
there.
Yeah. And there was in 732 AD, Pope Gregory began a concerted effort to stop the ritual consumption of horse meat in pagan practice. And that sort of same thing happened in Scandinavia.
Is there a reason? Just because it was like frowned upon, or
well, because like their rituals, like the rituals to like Epona, you know that name if you
Yeah.
play Zelda.
Was that a real thing?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's a goddess, I think. That goddess widely worshipped in Gaul and southern Britain. And when you would make a sacrifice to Epona, you would kill a horse, and then everybody would eat the horse together. Another potential reason. So there's sort of like a sociological reason. We like horses. We're friends with them. There's sort of a historical reason because pagan paganism and Christianity were fighting it out, and you didn't want to be on the wrong side of that fight if you wanted to be alive and stuff. There's also a sort of anthropological / like just economic argument that raising a horse for food is inefficient because horses aren't ruminants and they're not super good at converting grass into meat.
When you say ruminant, sorry, is that like meaning they have that like
They
for
don't have those chambered stomachs.
Okay.
And so this guy, Marvin Harris, suggests that some cultures class horse meat as taboo because the horse is just less economically efficient if you're having this horse out there doing that thing. More recent studies say that like it's 100% just we're not used to it. So we don't eat horse meat because you don't eat horse meat. And when it comes time to like eat horse meat, people are like, ooh, that's weird. And sometimes they'll do it at like fancy restaurants. In Britain, Gordon Ramsay was serving horse meat at his restaurant, and there was like a hullabaloo, and everybody was like, is it okay for him to serve horse meat? And then they did some surveys.
Just because it's new and weird.
People were like 80% of people said it was fine, but like people didn't necessarily want to eat horse meat, but they said it was okay to eat. It's just like not part of our system. Like more recent studies, which is interesting that there's been so much sort of research done on why we don't eat horse meat. But more research studies indicate that it's just because it's weird that we don't eat horse meat. Like we eat chickens, we eat cows, and we eat pigs, and that's pretty much what we do. Sometimes it's like, ooh, fancy lamb and stuff. But
we also eat like specific parts of everything too. So like we are very like in our ways. Like you don't eat chicken feet in the West.
Some
you
people
don't.
do.
Yeah.
Not here, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's more.
Okay.
If you eat beef, you probably have eaten horse.
Oh.
Because even though it's not allowed, horse meat makes its way into food processing illegally all the time.
Because horses get how, why, what, and what else is in beef? Follow-up question.
This is the question. So, like, particularly if you're eating, so this happened in Britain, and it was a big scandal, and people went to jail where tons and tons and tons of slaughtered horse was making its way into like TV dinners. So like lasagna with like little chunks of stuff in it. And
that's so weird though, because like if it's less economical.
Well, but see, here's the thing about horses: they do their job, and then they die.
Retire.
So it's actually more economical because like you're not gonna raise a horse for meat.
Right.
But if you have a bunch of horses and
then they die.
So weirdly, you can't even in America, I think, or at least you couldn't at one point, like put horse meat in dog food. Like that wasn't allowed. Not for any reason other than just like it's what we're doing. So, but it looks as if, but we do have horse slaughtering in America. Most of that horse meat is slaughtered and shipped to other countries. Mexico eats a lot of it. China also eats a lot of it. So when a horse reaches the end of its life, it is sent to a slaughterhouse and it's slaughtered. But sometimes that horse meat is illicitly put into the food system just as because horse and beef are pretty indistinguishable flavors. Like they're different, but they're not super different. So you just mix it in, and people have been doing this a bunch. And when they test like sausage, like they often find horse meat in sausage.
That's so interesting.
And you can do it now with DNA tests. You can just be like, well, that's not cow.
Is it illicit only because it's supposed to be beef? There's nothing wrong with the horse meat, right?
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
But
they're just passing it off as beef.
But people have gone to jail
right.
because people are like, no, you can't, either because of our cultural feelings about horse meat or because it's taboo because we're friends with horses, though in a way we're not friends with cows and chickens and pigs. But
in Missoula, sometimes people are friends with chickens.
We love our chickens.
Oh yeah,
I've been friends with pigs too.
Yeah, pigs are great.
Yeah,
pigs are
and
so
then
great.
I ate that
great.
pig.
Yeah, you ate the pig you were friends with?
I did. I ate a pig I was friends with.
Holy shit!
Well,
I don't
You
think
never read Charlotte's Web.
Yeah,
or seen Babe.
Who? I mean, eventually that pig dies, right?
In Babe, no. Babe's still alive.
Babe is still fine.
Well,
Yeah.
and then Charlotte's
30
Web,
years
Babe's
later,
okay,
Web, the
Babe's okay.
spider dies. The pig
Yeah, but
doesn't
the
die.
pig is
Yeah.
being raised
I'm not
for
saying
slaughter.
the pig dies in the book. I'm saying the pig eventually dies because everything dies.
Oh, yeah.
And so at that point, you might as well eat Wilbur, right?
That's Sam's brother's name.
Yeah. At some point, I'll have
This
to
is
eat
this is a
Wilbur.
great point.
True.
If you extend this argument far enough, yes, we will eat Sam's brother Wilbur when he
Yes.
dies,
Yeah.
which I don't think we should do.
He works hard. When he dies, he'll give his body to us, and
Yeah.
it will be. He doesn't make a lot of meat, but he'll be delicious probably.
Yeah,
He's
we'll
just
just
not a-
make some
not a
him
real
with some
big dude.
beef.
He's not a. He's very tall, but I bet he's very
Lean.
gamey. He eats a lot of pizza. He eats a lot of garbage.
I think that's great. Like what
He's
you
gonna be
know, in
marbled,
general,
maybe.
marbled, yeah. And generally, what you don't want is somebody that eats a lot of grass.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
that's when the meat doesn't taste as good, apparently.
Well, what are we
which is
feeding
a
our
very
cows?
horse thing.
Grains.
Yeah.
Oh, corn.
Not good thing.
Corn.
Lots of corn.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So horse meat, you guys. And there was this huge scandal in Britain that there was a ton of horse meat that got into like school lunches, and like people were super freaking out about it. But it's like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But it was illegal.
But we like name horses.
The laws are against it.
Yeah.
And
We
so
name them.
people went to jail. Like when you buy like frozen ground beef and it's extremely inexpensive, oftentimes you might find horse in that, or like really cheap sausages or something.
Do you think that, like, so you say they taste sort of the same, but like, I feel like horse might taste even a little bit better.
Maybe fed higher quality.
That higher
food.
quality stuff, and it's like muscular. I feel like it's probably like elk or deer more than.
Yeah, so I asked on Twitter actually
Okay, cool.
earlier today. I said, "Hey, have you ever eaten horse meat?" This is a weird question, apropos of nothing. And if so, what was it like? And people generally said, "Yeah, it was a lot like beef, and I liked it. It was fine." But I also got it's sort of like a cross between beef and venison.
That sounds
That
awesome.
sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So I mean, it's an interesting thing. Like we're never gonna raise horses for meat because it would be
Right.
inefficient.
Right.
And in some places, horse meat is a delicacy and it sells for more than cow does. But in other, like in America, it's cheaper because we don't eat it, and horses have to die. And when they die, and this is true of like I was reading that like one of the Triple Crown winners. Not one of a Kentucky Derby winner, not a Triple Crown winner.
Okay.
A Kentucky Derby winner.
I'm like, is that why they call them sea biscuit?
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
was slaughtered for meat. And like,
Well,
I mean,
what you gonna do?
what's he gonna do? But it's red meat, and apparently it's pretty good. And the article said that it was, quote, sweeter, which I've never heard applied to food.
That makes sense to me.
And also much leaner
Yeah.
than cow.
It's very weird how we all just like willfully don't want to learn as much as possible about the food and meat that we're eating.
Oh, no.
That's
Yeah,
a
you
great
really
point.
don't want to learn more about how meat happens.
I feel like when I do learn more about it, it doesn't necessarily put me off of it. I just feel like maybe if we all were more educated about it. I don't know.
Have you ever
There's
like
some-
processed an
yeah,
animal?
I've been part of that process.
a little bit. Not when I was a kid, a couple
Yeah.
times.
I only have in like people who have been hunting, never like at a
Right.
slaughterhouse or something, and it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh. Oh,
Really?
just yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating to like see all the muscles and like see how like it's like why maybe somebody would go into medicine, you know, like
Yeah.
to see how a body fits together. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
I remember holding an elk's heart when I was in
Whoa.
like 4th grade maybe.
Sam's an actual Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the barn.
I was just thinking this is a very Montana conversation.
We lived out in the country. My dad's friend called him to have us come and help them pull an elk that they shot near their land into their barn where they were processing it. And we were looking at the heart and we were like, "Oh, cool heart!" But the elk was hanging. Okay, the elk was hanging and it was all gutted, and his
You okay,
butt,
Alyssa?
his butt,
Yeah.
I was on one side as it is, and his mouth was on the other side, and we started throwing the heart into the butt, and it
Like
would
a
come out the-
basketball
yeah,
game?
and it would come out the mouth.
Oh, no.
It was pretty cool. So maybe that's why I'm okay with eating meat, because I've thrown a heart through a butt.
Because you're dark and twisted.
Your past.
Uh-huh.
I mean, in general, like what researching the food system in America does to me as a person who still eats meat questionably is like allows me to confront my own cognitive dissonance and be like, I have that, which we all have, but that's what it's about for me. Like being like, I do things that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you like to not eat meat?
I would prefer to not eat meat for sure.
Yeah.
What if you only would you be okay with eating meat if you were only eating like humanely whatever?
Nah.
Not even hunted stuff.
What about
Not
lab
even?
meat?
Lab meat, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very
Labrador
expensive.
retrievers eat the heck out of those.
Yeah.
Oh, you
He
mean
would
like
eat Labrador,
that was a joke.
Labrador
Oh,
Oh,
retrievers.
okay.
joke.
Sorry,
Black
I get
labs,
it.
yellow labs,
I
golden
get it.
retrievers, little too gamey.
No, yeah, lab meat. I'm super in favor and excited about. 20 years from now when lab meat's a thing.
Yeah, sign me up
20
for that.
years?
Maybe
And maybe,
sooner.
maybe.
ambitious.
Well, I think that you think that's ambitious, or you think that
I
that's.
think it's ambitious.
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
I
Who
think
knows? Who knows?
this is like
Just
spoilers,
facts. Yeah.
but I think we're less than 20 years out from cows and horses eating lab meat.
Or like salmon.
Well, it has to.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's something that eats a lot of meat.
It has
Yeah.
to be cheaper or close to as the same price as.
Yeah, but
Right.
it can taste shitty, and we
Doesn't-
would
Right.
give it to animals.
Right.
Yeah,
Wait.
but then why wouldn't we just give them corn?
Because
Because
corn
corn is
It's pretty easy to make corn.
yeah, but it takes a lot of land use.
It's true.
We already have the land.
We got.
Yeah, but
got
we
so
could
much-
we
it's
could turn it
America,
into
Caitlin.
forest.
We got nothing but land.
Nothing but corn.
They're feeding cows
It's getting
horses.
warmer, so just
Yeah.
Canada's gonna be all corn too.
Yeah.
Uh,
They're feeding cows and horses lab meat.
no, they're not. That's
No.
what Caitlin says. Is
Would
maybe
they
gonna
like
happen.
that? Would it
Oh,
be meat, or would
well,
they
yeah,
make it
cows
look?
and horses don't eat
Yeah.
meat anyway.
What would be?
That's what I'm
No,
thinking.
okay, I'll tell you later.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But what were we talking about? Oh,
Labradors.
yeah. I would. I think in general, like just the creation of an animal just to serve humans is kind of a questionable idea. Like I totally like accept it, and I like live in that world. But if it could be avoided, I think that would be ideal.
Okay.
Like I think that those animals should just never be born, so that
Okay.
they don't have to suffer and die.
Mhm.
All right.
Except in like very limited areas where it's like, look at the cow exhibit.
We got some wild.
Look at my
cows.
pet cow. He's so cute.
This is what people used to do. They would
Yeah.
raise cows and then they would fucking murder them.
You pet the cute cow, and then you go.
I had
into
one of my professors at the University of Montana worked at a slaughterhouse for a while, and his first day at the slaughterhouse, it was like the hazing, and they gave you a cup of blood.
Ugh.
the. Ooh.
And he drank it.
Yeah, you had to drink the blood.
My dad's dad was a meat inspector, and he would go to slaughterhouses and he worked for the USDA.
Mhm.
And my dad went with him on his trips because he'd drive all around the state and go to different ones. And my dad would go with him. And I think I don't know if this is entirely right, but I think he only went in one time. And he went in, and there was a guy there who gave him a crazy smile, and then he drank out of a bucket of blood and smiled at my dad with blood mouth. And then my dad didn't want to go in slaughterhouses
I
anymore.
also imagine he has a pig face as a hat.
Maybe. I
He's
could
just
ask
like,
him.
hello, kid Schultz. That's what I imagine when you're like, he
Hello,
went in.
kid.
And I just imagine this guy with a.
Yeah,
a pig face
maybe.
for a hat.
Maybe he wasn't
I
trying
was
to just
just
freak out
talking
my
to
dad. He
Wearing
was
a
just
pig
so
face for a
weird.
hat.
I was just talking to
This is
someone about
upsetting.
Lord of the Flies
This is
recently,
upsetting.
so I think it's at top of mind
For
for
a
me.
second, I was picturing like that pig mask that you wear if you were robbing a bank, but you're talking about like the flesh of a pig.
Just a real
sitting
pig
on your
head sitting on there.
All right,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next.
That's what I was picturing this whole time. So.
Sam, it's you, right?
Yeah, it's me.
All right.
Okay, so I have been to Chinese restaurants where I've had bird's nest soup.
Mhm.
And what I thought this was up until recently was just a bunch of noodles that was made to look like a bird's nest in a bowl of soup. And I read on Wikipedia that in America, there's a lot of places that will
Right.
pass that off
That's
as
what it
bird's
is.
nest soup.
Yeah.
So I was looking up stuff today, and I was going to do something completely different. But then I clicked on bird's nest soup because I was like, oh, I've had that. I must have had a delicacy. I'm very fancy. But what bird's nest soup really is the hardened spit of birds that they make into nests on walls of caves. What? You guys all knew this? Well, I'm not going to do mine anymore
Well,
then.
no. Here's the thing, though,
I've
because
heard
I have
just teeny bits about this. I'm like nodding because I'm like, go on. This is
yeah,
really
that's
interesting.
what I was gonna say. Like, I have read up on this. Also, I don't remember where I saw it, but like, there's a lot that I have questions about.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
well, like, also, like for me, the harvesting process.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
watched a
aren't they
video
on
about
like
that
big
today.
walls that are hard to get to?
Well, so
Or like in
the
caves, I guess.
traditional harvesting, so it's the nests of the edible nest swiftlet is what the bird is called.
The edible nest swiftlet. They put it in the name.
Yeah,
just
they
so
put
you're
it
not
right.
confused.
Poor bastards.
Yeah. So they're a bird that lives in lots of different places in Asia, but I think they mostly live in the Philippines. They live in caves and they use echolocation to navigate. So
What?
Yeah.
Holy fucking science right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know
during
birds did
nesting
that.
season, the male there's a gland under its tongue that it can shoot basically like spider web or something out
Spider
of.
bird.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it clings onto the wall and it
Spider-bird.
makes
Spider-bird. Just like leaking a spider web out.
leaking, yeah.
Dude,
I haven't thought about
that's
that since I was in
leaking.
7th grade. I
It's
can
like a
never
cross
figure
between
out.
a spider, a bird, and a bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Spider-bird bat, Spider-bird bat.
And it does do whatever Spider-Bird Bat can do.
Which is just this stuff.
Yeah, which is basically just
Every-
spit a bunch of gross
It doesn't
goo
do
out.
anything it can't do.
Yeah. So it lives in a cave, poops on the ground, and then bugs eat the poop, and it eats the bugs off the ground. And I guess it's just like
Oh, wow.
a beautiful circle of life thing going on in this
Lives
cave.
in a cave, poops on the ground.
But people will go into their caves with big old ladders, and they'll pluck their nests off the walls.
Are there babies and eggs in the nest when they do
Sometimes,
this?
yeah.
Do they keep them in there for extra protein?
I don't know. I doubt it. Maybe. So yeah, usually they do it like it's in such high demand that they're not really patient enough, I think, to wait until the end of nesting
you want it
season.
while it's fresh.
Yeah, you want some fresh bird spit.
Fresh gleeking.
So
Ugh.
they pull these bird nests off the wall and then they cook them into soup. And the soup, they basically just boil them back down into the bird spit. And I guess it's like kind of a gelatinous soup.
Probably like you take like bones and boil them down into broth,
Mhm.
so it makes sense. Like
But this is spit.
different.
Yeah,
You
like
take spit and you turn it back into spit.
Then it's like, ooh, gooey.
Yeah.
So one of the things I know about spit, so there's these proteins called mucins or mucins. I'm not sure. I just don't know how it's spelled. And they are some of the highest molecular weight proteins. So that means that they are like the molecule themselves, like the molecule itself is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is that they are these long chains and they bind to each other so that, and this is like sort of also basically the way that like a rubber band is made, where it's a bunch of long chains and they bind to each other and then they can stretch out.
oh, that's why
So, like,
mucus is stretchy.
that's why
these
you can
mucins
spit and then
bind to each other. Yeah.
suck it back up.
Suck it back up. Exactly. So like, and if you dry that out, it will like turn into a noodle basically. And so it is a
What,
protein.
with human spit?
Well, it's like
I don't think with human spit.
Okay, because like as
I
far
wish
as
I
I
had a
know,
big booger I could
but-
I
pull out
can't
right now.
3D print with my saliva.
But maybe there'd be lots of little noodles.
Maybe if you boil
dry
it
them
down
out.
into
but
soup.
If you like got a real thick one and spat it down, it would like dehydrate and become sort of a hard.
So you're,
might
but
throw
you're
up.
what you're talking about basically is booger 3D printing.
Yeah, boogers.
But yeah, that's what. Yeah, because like a booger is just dried snot, right?
Yeah.
it's sort of concentrated snot. Yeah.
Yeah, with
Wait.
like other crap in it though too, probably, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, some
What's
air
a booger?
junk.
What's a booger
We have
made
a
out
Sideshow
of?
Kids about
What's a
that.
booger? Just Google that up.
And you find a Sideshow Kids about it.
Yeah, probably. Is that the first? I want to
We
know
got
now.
this.
What's the first thing that comes up when I ask what's a booger on YouTube?
I would hope if that would be one of the top ones.
Do they
We've
add other things to
exhaustively-
the soup?
Well, so you can make a dessert soup. You can make a savory soup with it.
So
You
it
can
just
make lots of
depends on
different
what-
soups. It's mostly
It's
just
the
a
base.
thickener. Yeah. So I think traditionally
We're number two.
Number
Ooh.
278,000 views.
What's number one?
Fuck yeah.
What are-
WebMD.
Oh,
Fuckers.
boo. Real doctors suck.
They've been around longer. They've been
Yeah.
around longer than Sideshow Kids.
Yeah.
Actually, it
that's
was uploaded more recently.
Oh,
But it has fewer views than us.
But WebMD
Oh, okay,
has
we
been
have more
around
views,
longer.
that's
I
fine.
mean.
When I was a kid, the first time I saw somebody hawk a loogie, I barfed on the ground.
Really?
Yeah. I was pretty little.
That's
I
really
was in, like,
And
sweet.
then,
kindergarten.
and then like a few years later, you're shooting a heart through an anus.
Yeah, yeah. It fucked me up.
It fucked me up.
Seeing that loogie
Now,
fucked me
yeah,
up.
you just become a jaded, evil man.
Yeah.
Now you have a basement full of deer hearts.
I
Yeah.
don't have a basement.
But I just
That's
saw
what
just
you
keep them
want
in
us
the
to
They're in
think.
the
kitchen.
filing cabinet.
Yeah,
You
they're
keep
just in
them
my
in the
crawl.
washing machine.
They're in my crawl space. You can have red bird nests or white bird nests, depending
Oh.
on what they eat. I think there's other
Oh.
kinds too, but the ones they look for are the red ones and or the white ones, and they have allegedly have different,
Flavor?
not flavor, but mineral content. In Hong Kong, a bowl of bird's nest soup would cost $30 to $100 US dollars.
Whoa.
Wow.
And a kilogram of white bird nest can cost $2,000.
What?
And the red can cost $10,000.
Well, probably a lot to get.
It takes a lot.
Kilogram.
Yeah,
Heavy,
it says you have to make, and you have to use a lot of it for the soup too to get it the right consistency. Yeah, and then otherwise there's a fake American version where they just put a bunch of noodles in a bowl and they say it's bird
And they
nest
cock
soup.
loogies into it probably.
Yeah, they're making
It's the same thing.
It's just vermicelli.
But there also are a lot of conservation efforts for these birds because they were treated really poorly by the people who were harvesting them. Not the people's fault, I'm sure. They just had And so they've been building these big structures in cities because I guess the birds like to live in cities, and they build these big hollow concrete structures you can see on Wikipedia where the birds will nest, and they're easier to like climb up and stuff. So I guess we found a way to hack getting bird nests. And they will build, another thing I read is that they will build these boxes that the birds will live in and build their nests, and then people will take their nests, but the birds will still have the box and they'll still use that like a nest too. So maybe it's okay
not
now.
as cruel to the birds, maybe.
Not quite as bad.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll just have a whole automated system now where we'll have a culture of symbiosis with the birds, and there'll be more than ever, just like there are with cows and horses.
They'll give us their spit.
Yeah.
We'll give them boxes.
There's like
We'll be
people
happy.
like making little birds' nests for them and just like trade them out like Indiana Jones style.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so bird spit soup. I do not think that that's disgusting, and I would definitely eat bird nest soup. I just think that is very interesting.
Bit of a surprise.
That
And probably not what you had.
No, definitely not. Mine had noodles in it. And it was in Butte. So yeah, I don't think we had. It did not cost $100, and I'm pretty sure it was not real bird's nest soup. Maybe
For the
it was.
uninitiated, Butte is a town in Montana.
It actually
is
has
the-
one
it
of the.
is-
It actually has one of the oldest Chinatowns and one of the oldest Chinese restaurants in America.
Yeah, because Butte was the biggest city in the West for a
Right.
long time.
And before Irish miners came, there were Chinese miners there for a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Butte's a mining town. It is the most
on the railroad
Montana
line.
of the Montana towns.
Well, this part of Montana, I don't know.
Wait, hit me with a more Montana town than Butte.
I think any town in eastern Montana is more
okay.
Montana.
I see what you're saying.
Butte is very strange, and it has a lot of the history of Montana contained in it. But I do not think a lot of people in Butte consider it to be the most Montana-y
Right,
town.
I think I understand. I was thinking city, like in terms of like the places
Population.
that like have the
Oh.
bigger dots on the map.
Sure. I think once you live here for a while, when you are dissuaded of the notion that it's a bunch of like cowboys,
Right.
then you're like, oh,
I have
yeah,
not yet
Butte's-
been dissuaded of that notion.
Well,
Yeah, well,
On my way here,
you want to go to Butte this weekend? I'm going to
been to
Butte.
Let's take it up, Butte.
on my way here, when I saw my first cowboy hat in the wild, I was like, okay, I'm on the way to Montana. Got it. On the right plane. As in,
Yeah.
like, people here wear cowboy hats
Yeah.
unironically.
Well, especially the people who fly on planes a lot and are coming here to like
Right.
fish in the summer.
Yeah.
They might not
They
even be from
all
Montana.
have cowboy hats.
Sometimes Michael Gardner wears cowboy hats.
Yeah.
He's from California.
a lot of people from California wear cowboy hats when they come to Montana.
But it's
Yeah.
they're doing it as a thing,
Right.
not just because like that's what they wear.
You can
Not 'cause they're
safely
going to a
follow the
bachelorette
cowboy.
party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can safely follow the cowboy hats to Montana
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
If
not
someone
all
says
that defines
howdy,
us.
then I'm like, I'm getting closer.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I'm so
Yeah,
happy I
everyone
can say
else.
howdy and
I
everybody's
know,
fine
me
with
too.
it.
Yeah, nobody else
It's a
sneak
good
at
one.
you.
can't do it.
I love
can't
it.
say it.
Once
It
I
doesn't
turned
work.
30, I was like, I can say howdy now.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just sounds like I'm making fun of people.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might
That
be
makes
right.
sense.
You might want to stay away from howdy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, Alyssa.
Montana.
It's your turn.
Okay.
Oh,
That was cool,
this
Sam.
episode's
That
not
was really
about
interesting.
Montana.
This episode
I have
is
another
brought to you by
mini one
Montana,
if we want to talk
sort
about that
of.
later.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Alyssa.
It is the ultimate disgusting food in my
What
opinion.
is?
Jesus.
We'll talk about it at the end maybe.
Okay, we'll just give you a quick hold on to the end for Sam's ultimate disgusting food.
Is it also from the Philippines?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So in 67 BCE,
Uh-huh.
a bunch of Roman soldiers were chasing a bunch of Persian soldiers. And
Oh my god, I love history.
So far, so good.
stories.
as the Romans were giving chase, they saw these like bowls of stuff on the side of the road and they were like, oh, okay, we'll try that. And they did.
Yeah, that's not like, I mean, I sometimes will just have
First
like a
food trucks.
random thing from the fridge, but not like from the side of the road.
Listen, they were running after Persians. They probably didn't have that much time to
Right.
like stop and get
And
some
they're
lunch.
hungry.
Where'd you get those
Yeah.
shoes, Hank?
Persia.
Oh, I thought maybe
Those aren't
those
the
were your
garbage
side of the
shoes.
road
No,
shoes.
no.
No. My side of the road shoes are back home.
They're very nice.
No, these I got at Dillard's.
So after the Romans ate this stuff, they got over the next like few hours, they started to get disoriented and kind of eventually some of them they needed to lie down, some of them ended up
Fucking
paralyzed.
wasted. Oh, okay. Worse
And
than
they
wasted.
just-
Like permanently paralyzed?
No, temporarily.
Okay.
But they some of them was permanent, you'll see why in a second, but they had to stop and like wait because they couldn't really continue. And then the Persian soldiers turned around, came back, and killed 1,000 of them.
Nice. Good job, Persia.
Yeah. So
He set a little trap.
Yeah.
what did they eat? It was honey. Mad honey.
Mad.
Mad honey?
Mad
Like,
honey.
because it had botulism in it?
No. There's this stuff called mad honey that like people still eat sometimes. It's it has psychotropic properties. It's a hallucinogen.
What's
but
it made by?
Killer
Bees.
bees?
So it's made by bees.
So
it's
wait,
just- it
so
is
there's
honey.
the kind that's really concentrated and will like paralyze and otherwise hurt people, although the effects go after a while. And then there's the type that's just like a hallucinogen, so it's like trippy and fun. And well, I don't know if it's fun, but whatever.
Trippy, but it's not going to paralyze you.
Right.
That's what you mean by fun, basically.
Yes, as in like not causing
You
heart
will
attacks
recover,
or
yeah.
paralysis or any of that stuff.
Mad honey.
Yeah,
It's a good name for a beer.
Totally. Big Sky.
Yeah. So it's made by bees that have rhododendrons. Rhododendron nectar.
So it's not it's not a different bee. It's bees that are making honey from different flowers.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean,
How
there's
did
a lot
they-
of rhododendron in America.
Yeah. How did they
So-
know it was? How did they know it was the right honey? And like,
Well, in certain parts of the world, it's more likely for it to be mad honey than others, and one of them,
Okay.
I guess, is parts of Persia.
That it's just
Well, what used to be
called
Persia?
Mad honey.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
there's probably other names for it, but that's what it's called around on the streets.
Where,
streets of the-
where
the streets
Alyssa
of Google.
sells her weird,
Yeah.
her weird
Mad
honey
honey.
drugs.
Yeah.
Alyssa can't say howdy. You know, like she goes on the streets and we all crack up. It's so cute.
So it's there you can find it, and in Nepal and in parts of
Whoa.
the eastern U.S. sometimes.
Because I know
Yeah,
it's
'cause
like
we got
a
lots
like
of rhododendron.
yeah, and you want
Yeah.
to make sure. Like I remember like my dog growing up trying to eat a rhododendron. And my mom like freaked out.
So I just learned by learning about this that rhododendrons were poisonous. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But apparently they are. And
You know my favorite thing about rhododendron, says the guy who needs to be home by 5 and it's currently 6, is that they like drop these like sticky things off their flower pods. And if you walk around in a rhododendron thicket, they all stick to your feet. So if you're not, you can take off your shoes and walk around, and they stick to your feet, and then suddenly you got like shoes
Pedal shoes.
of rhododendron stickies, and you can walk on rocks and stuff, and it doesn't hurt.
Whoa.
Anyway, moving on.
yeah.
Which is probably really
Yeah.
attractive to bees.
Right, and also to all the ladies.
Yeah.
You grew up in the South, right?
Ladies.
Yeah,
Did you walk around barefoot a lot?
I did.
Me too.
Mm.
And I'm also.
Is that
from
a
the South.
southern thing?
I think it must be a southern thing.
I walked around barefoot all the time in northern Idaho.
There
Oh.
are some people who walk
Wait,
around barefoot
Sam, are
all
you
the
from the
time in
South?
Montana.
Yeah, I'm from Alabama.
Oh, the Alabama was where my family is from. I thought you were from Montana. We just had this whole thing about how Montanan you were.
We moved here when I was in
Identical
second grade.
cousins.
But I spent some formative years in,
All
in the
right.
South.
Anyway, Alyssa, sorry.
Yeah, in the nectar, it's not concentrate of the rhododendron nectar. The stuff. So the toxin is called grayanotoxins. So they're
Granotaxane 3, 5, 6, 10, 14, 16 hexol.
well, there's
14
25
acetate.
different kinds.
For those keeping
There's
score at
25
home.
different kinds.
Yeah, so that stuff isn't concentrated enough in the nectar to kill the bees.
Okay.
But when they make honey from it, it can, and if they've had a lot of rhododendrons, so it can become concentrated enough to cause these symptoms because what it does is it opens the sodium channels that
Okay.
activate cells, and so that can cause like all kinds of symptoms.
Basically
like,
a neurotoxin.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like when it targets
Wow.
neurons, so I don't know, you end up with hallucinations basically. And it's used by some people to get high, obviously. But
Or
it's
to
also,
kill your enemies.
or that, yes. But it's also used by some people traditionally. Like the Gurung in Nepal will climb 300-foot cliffs to get it because it's used in some of their traditions and stuff. There are some people who also use it for like folk medicine, but there's not really any evidence that it works on any of the things they think it works on. Like they think it's an aphrodisiac or a good treatment for ulcers or weakness, arthritis, but it doesn't seem to work for that.
Is it a controlled substance?
As far as I know, it is
I
not.
bet not.
Nice.
Probably because if you do it wrong, it's poisonous, and like people don't try that hard. But
There's other stuff you can take.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's pretty expensive also if you want to buy it.
Right. I mean, I'm looking at the chemical structure, and it says to me, "Don't eat this." It's just like this is a biological
So F
active.
you up.
What do you know? Yeah, egghead. I can eat whatever I want.
Chemical structures are talking to you. You may have already had some.
You can tell it's
Wiggle
gonna
your
fuck with
toes.
shit.
Let's make sure you're okay.
Yeah. So
Holy fucking
that's
science.
Yeah.
Was
that's
it-
honey.
Was it common for them to lay traps like that? Or
So there's another story. This Greek warrior writer Xenophon wrote about how in 401 BCE,
wait, what did you say? He's a warrior
Xenophon.
a
writer?
warrior / writer.
Cool. Okay.
New job.
Yeah. So he wrote about how there were a bunch of soldiers who, like, they weren't fighting at the time, but, like, there were just a bunch of honey around and they ate it because they were just hanging out, whatever. And I just like the way he wrote it. They're like, suffered from vomiting and diarrhea, and not one of them could stand up. But those who had eaten a little were like people exceedingly drunk, and great despondency prevailed.
Oh,
Great
no.
despondency prevailed.
We've all been there.
That doesn't sound like an aphrodisiac. I was waiting for them
No.
to start.
Oh, no.
No.
Amazing.
They were probably so sticky.
And Pliny
though.
the Elder said, and then they fucked.
Yep. A whole bunch of them. Wow.
But it took them 4 days to get back to normal after that.
Oh, wow.
4
Yeah, that's
days.
another reason.
Oh, it doesn't sound fun at
anything
all.
that's the high lasts for 4 days is just
No.
like
Who
right
has
out.
time for
Nobody
that?
wants
Especially
that.
when
That's
you're in
bad
a war.
news.
I'm in a war right now. There's Persians to murder.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So,
Can you make
mad
weed honey? I bet you can.
Can you make weed? I mean, of course you can make weed honey. It's got flowers.
Yeah.
Weed honey. Weed honey. Honey from a weed. No, you know what I
What do
mean,
you-
Wikipedia.
yeah. Don't be coy.
There's people are just
Cannabis
putting
infused
putting
honey.
tincture into honey and they're getting high, which is boring.
One thing I
Yeah.
discovered in my researches today is that there's a weird undercurrent of people on paleo message boards talking about eating eyeballs. Because they have
Control
a lot of-
Z, moving, but no, bad. Edit undo. I don't wanna.
They got a lot of minerals in them or whatever, vitamins.
They're probably dirty.
Ugh.
Eyeballs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I once had
Yeah.
a friend of mine who went to Mongolia and they served her an eyeball as like you're the guest of honor and here's the best part of
You
the
better
Yeah.
of
freaking
the
eat
cow
it.
and she
yeah.
had to eat this eyeball.
From what I've read, they have a very pleasant texture.
What if you deep fried it? Do you think it would disappear?
I mean,
or
once
do you
you
think
deep
it
fry
would,
anything.
I think it
it'd
would be
like
okay.
a cheese curd?
Yeah, I think it would be like a cheese
That
curd.
sounds awesome.
Yeah. Also read about deep fried brains today.
Nice.
It's a southern food, I guess, in like Georgia, I think.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Cannabis is a weed pollinated plant. And sorry, did I say weed pollinated?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I meant wind pollinated.
Oh, they
So
don't need
bees
those
aren't
bees.
in
not,
them.
so they do not do it with the bees.
Well,
What
and
a
also
shame.
their flowers aren't very colorful, right? So that kind of
Right.
makes sense.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. When you look at a bud, it's just
Yeah.
but it does have a lot of scent, but I guess that's just what we did to them.
Look, my dad listens to this podcast.
It sounds like I do a lot of marijuana. I don't
Yeah.
do. I mean, I just said do marijuana, which was a pretty strong indication.
I
that
shoot
I'm
up a lot of
I
marijuana.
don't do marijuana much. Anywho, I think it's time for Caitlin Hofmeister to give us her presentation that she's printed out on a sheet of paper.
Stand
I'm
in
old
front of the
school.
class.
You guys
Yeah.
with your electronic devices.
Yes, it's
As we all close that.
Yeah.
This works. What's wrong with that?
It's a tiny computer. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's your little pocket computer.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped calling them phones a long time ago because, like,
You
it's
just call it a
not.
phone.
I was trying to be polite to all of you.
Neophytes.
You all, you
Yeah.
ancient people. You don't know the new lingo.
I call them pocket watches because
Yeah.
that's what they are.
Pocket watch.
Huh.
Because it's like.
And
No,
Sam
I
has
get
a,
it. Somebody
Sam has
said
a
that
wrist
same
phone.
joke to me the other day, and I'm trying
It
to
was
remember.
me,
Was it
it was
you?
me.
It was you.
I was just waiting for it to click.
Right.
Originally we talked about maybe doing gross food, and so I didn't know if I could talk about this, but then I realized it would be gross. So, but it's also extreme.
Excited about it.
So I brought brewer's yeast. If you guys want to eat some brewer's yeast plain,
So brewer's yeast is what?
brewer's yeast is I don't know
It's
what
like
it is.
it's a fungus, right?
Yeah.
And is it the stuff? It's like the fungus that like dissolves the.
Yeah,
that, like,
it eats all the sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, in beer, and so you add it. So it's like you're taking a single-celled organism and then creating food out of it. And so, what I want to talk to you about is a different single-celled organism that you can make food out of.
But what are we supposed to do with the brewer's yeast? Should I eat that now?
You can if you want to, but it's kind of like this. It's like the same texture, and probably the brewer's yeast is more flavorful than the bacteria that I want to tell, or the protein I want to tell you about.
Why do you have so much brewer's yeast?
Because
Dip it
I
on
put
your
it on
popcorn?
toast and popcorn.
Oh.
It tastes kind of cheesy, but it's really dry.
Is that what Marmite is?
I think maybe it is. I've never tasted Marmite, but
Gak.
yeah.
I think Marmite is a derivative.
I think it's better if you put
you
it
want
on
mine,
like
Sam?
buttered toast.
Oh, that's bad.
If you mix that with a bunch of butter, I can see it.
Yeah, but that's true of everything, really.
This podcast is brought to you by Big Sky Brewing.
We haven't
Big Sky
said that
Brewing,
enough.
Missoula, Montana. We're drinking. I'm drinking Shake a Day India Pale Ale. So is Caitlin right now. What do you
I'm
got?
drinking one of their signature
Slayer?
beers, Trout Slayer.
Oh yeah, that's not a seasonal.
Yeah,
Around all
and
the time.
if you run into Big Sky Brewery, you're probably gonna run into Moose Drool
Moose
first.
Drool. Trout
Yeah.
Slayer maybe would be second place.
Yeah.
But
So
All right.
if you take water and CO2 and a bacteria that feeds on hydrogen, and you put it in a beer can size bioreactor and then electrocute it, you get food.
Electrocute it?
Yeah, well, maybe not electrocute
Like
it.
a low level electric current.
Yes, this is Alyssa.
Just like hit it with a bolt of lightning.
Yeah,
It turns into that guy Powder from that movie Powder.
it does turn into powder a lot like brewer's yeast, and it's 50% protein.
Just for everybody who's seen the movie Powder, me and 16 other people.
I saw the trailer for it. I never saw the movie.
Yeah, I never. I
though.
think I saw half the movie and maybe fell asleep.
I think they
That
played
was
the trailer
pretty
for
little.
it
At
before.
the end, he becomes God.
He does.
How do you become God? God,
Whoa.
Don't
what?
spoil it.
So in Finland, they're working on ways to make basically like feed for animals and ways to make food so you can feed a lot of people without using a lot of land. So this research, they've made over the course of 2 weeks, they've created about a gram of protein.
Oy.
And so they need to scale it up.
Yeah.
But it's pretty awesome because it's like it's a powder like brewer's yeast that's 50% protein, 25% carbs, and 25% fats and nucleic acids. And so it's I have a diagram.
Basically, my Cliff Bar that I eat every morning.
Yeah, kind of. So there's the quote from the head scientist. Oh yeah. Juapika something. By exposing those ingredients to electrolysis, they were able to create a small
I
amount
see.
of
So,
solid
like, you're creating
material.
the hydrogen that they eat by
Yes.
electrolyzing the water.
Exactly. So
Okay.
you the process is that they have this the hydrogen eating bacteria and then an electric water splitter in the same thing, and then it splits the hydrogen and the oxygen from each other. So then the bacteria eats the hydrogen, and then carbon from the atmosphere is mixed in, as well as like some phosphorus and ammonia and inorganic salts, which I don't know what those are, and then
Just
it makes
salts.
this sort of
Yeah.
tasteless, yeasty, not yeast, but tasteless powder like yeast powder.
Based on your reactions, that was not tasteless.
No, that was
No,
not
that
tasteless.
was-
No, this one's not tasteless because it's made to
Did I-
make things.
Like, is that just a
flavorful.
bunch of like single-celled fungi? Is that what I ate just
I
now?
think so.
Like, is it just yeast?
I think so.
I don't
It's
know.
weird that I could just like have a whole spoonful of fungus.
Mushrooms?
Or like single-celled
Right.
organisms.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird that you can have like a half a jar of just single-celled organisms. It's It's amazing. We're really good at making stuff.
Yeah.
But we're getting better at making stuff.
Yeah, and so the hope is that they're thinking eventually it would be like tofu or something that like people could eat, but probably something that they would
Like
feed to animals, or if small populations were going through famine or something, that this is a way that like a setup that you could take somewhere and grow.
You just like crank the
Food.
crank and it creates a little electricity, and then at the end of the day you're like, okay, we got like
I got my grandma
2,000
powder.
calories of food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
split
because
with the
and right
fam.
now it's run on wind power.
Oh.
When did they start working on this?
So you can just blow on it.
Yeah. I'm not sure when they started working on it, but the article I read came out this summer. So they're hoping that within a decade they'll be able to start using it as animal feed.
So you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, I'm very excited about new ways to create calories.
Yeah.
So I got really obsessed about maybe 3 years ago with the idea of starting a maggot farm.
To make cheese.
You don't have enough projects to do.
I don't know, like
What would you
of all
call
the
it?
things that I have expertise in, like farming and insects, not on the list. I don't know, but
We need
basically,
Olivia Gordon
Yeah,
on this
Olivia
case.
would know what to do.
She's good at both those things.
Yeah.
So the idea is basically food scraps. You have a certain kind of fly. The maggots actually have a whole life cycle that is pretty easy to control. They climb, like when it's time for them to, like they're fat, it's like they're done eating. They start climbing upward, and you create just sort of a certain shape container that when they get high up, they fall out of the container into a controlled like thing that they can't get out of. And then you take that and you have calories. So you've grown in.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
same group that's working on this project, other groups are working on how to eat insects and how to eat like other fungi and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
it's like we need more calories
Yeah.
that are sustainable.
Yeah, and this was very interesting to me because I am a huge fan of salmon. Like, I love to eat salmon. And I am aware that at some point in the future, if we continue living the way we currently live, that will no longer be an option for me. And I will have had salmon for the last time.
Yeah.
Um,
I think about that a lot because
Yeah.
I think I could be a vegetarian if it wasn't for salmon.
I mean,
Like-
usually it's bacon for people. but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
bacon I
love
love,
salmon.
but
Bacon's
like
my
I could go
problem.
without bacon, but I love bacon. But salmon is
I mean, just like
that's my favorite
salmon
food.
Caesar salad, I eat that every day. But so salmon are farmed, and I'm like, well, then salmon are sustainable, right? And I looked into this. No, because you know what farmed salmon eat?
Maggots.
No, not yet.
Angus beef.
Little fish, other little fish.
Little fish.
Yeah.
So they go out and they catch
Oh.
they don't
can't farm the little fish?
They don't farm the little fish.
Okay.
Why not?
They go out and they
What the hell?
catch the little fish
Farm the little fish.
because they can't farm the little fish because the little fish eat like plankton and stuff. And
Can't
so
farm
like it's
plankton?
just like and it would
Oh,
be
man.
extremely inefficient
Turtles
to
all
go
the way down, am I
farm the little
right?
fish.
Yeah.
So they go out and they catch the like sardines, and then they bring the sardines back, they grind them up and they dump them into the salmon, basically these big bags of salmon. So they're nets, like large nets that
Yeah.
contain, instead of having like a fish tank, you just put them in these big nets. And it's just like it's extremely inefficient, and like they're
Oh my gosh,
running out of
yeah.
sardines now that they're grinding up to feed to the salmon farms. And I'm like, well, what are they going to feed to the salmon farms? And I got to this website where it was like maggots, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Grind up these little bugs because like people don't like the thought of eating maggots.
would
Like we
salmon
won't even
wanna
eat
eat
horse
that?
meat. But we can dump maggots on the
Protein
salmon,
rich, I
and
guess.
they'll just eat the shit out of maggots.
Okay. If
Yeah,
they
love
like
it.
them. Okay.
Oh yeah, they love it.
So you wanted to start a maggot
And
farm.
so I thought, I live in Montana where land is cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like food, like lots of like cast off agricultural waste. We could
Mhm.
start a maggot farm and ship that out to Oregon where they're growing salmon, and wouldn't be. So that was
What's
the idea
how
I
do you
had.
ship?
Let's do it.
Would you ship them live or like freeze dried?
Or ground up.
Ground up probably. Yeah.
I don't feel like you'd have to grind a maggot very much.
No, yeah, that's the thing.
One turn.
You just don't want them to get out. Mostly.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's the main thing.
Well,
Oh,
as
man.
as someone who works for you, I'm very happy that you decided to do this instead.
Same. Also, I was like maggots.
Just 'cause,
Maybe one of my
like,
biggest
I'm not
fears.
saying instead. I'm saying like I
In
could
addition
also
to-
do that.
Yes,
Do any of you want to take over my maggot business?
Well, no,
Sam's
that's
into
why
it.
I'm
He's
glad I
thinking
work
it over.
here, as opposed
Yeah.
to for
I
a
do
maggot
want to
farm.
support. Like, I'm willing to invest in your maggot business because I want sustainably farmed salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to.
I want to stay far away from
I don't
it,
mind
though.
grinding the maggots.
No,
I don't
what?
want to farm the maggots.
Sam's not a big.
don't mind
I just called you
grinding.
away
salmon.
from maggots.
I'm not a big fan of the idea of the grinding of the maggots.
Yeah, me either.
Just like ronk.
I hate maggots. I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them too.
I
I
don't
hate
wanna
I
get
should
them
stop
cockroaches. It
all.
doesn't mean I want to step on
okay,
them.
larva, insect
Okay.
larva.
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, I don't want to look
That
at
is
larva.
better. That's better for me. I'm fine. An insect larva, that sounds cute.
But I
like
know
a
what you're talking
caterpillar.
about.
Like, that sounds adorable.
No,
Depends
It's a
on the
larva.
caterpillar.
Maggot.
it's like those larvas from Timon.
Maggot is a
from,
bad
that
word.
Timon and Pumbaa eat that look really good.
They look so
Yeah.
good. They look like eclairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're not. They're little gross white things with. Blech.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to
Timon
look
and
at them.
Pumbaa do seem to really like those grubs.
Simba
Grubs,
learns
grubs,
to
grubs,
love
grubs.
them as well.
You
Yep.
could call them grubs. Maybe that's okay.
Grub
Grubs.
is good. That's
Grub
what they were.
salmon.
Anyway.
So anyway, that's the business model that we're looking to get into here. If you are listening at home and you would think you want to invest in a maggot farm, let us know.
I know
We'll put
people-
Sam Schultz on the case.
Yeah. I know people who work for like salmon hatcheries and stuff in Oregon. So
We got the
is-
hookup and
right.
we're
that
halfway
end.
there.
Yeah.
Halfway there, we got our
Yeah.
client base.
Yeah.
We're gonna be thousandaires.
Yep.
Uh,
It's my dream. That's all I want.
Sam's face is not good.
Just picturing that eventually it would turn into people eating maggot patties, hamburgers.
Yeah,
People
well,
are gonna have to eat bugs eventually, and a lot of people already do.
I'm into eating bugs, but I don't want to eat baby bugs.
You do want to. You
don't want.
to.
I would rather
I don't want to
eat.
eat baby bugs.
I
I
would
want to eat
way
live bugs.
rather eat a maggot than a cricket.
Yeah,
I'd rather
Because
eat.
like
I've
a
eaten
cricket is made out of freaking chitin. Like I don't want to chew
yeah.
on
crunchy.
exoskeletons. Yeah, just give me one of those things that's just like 100%.
That's fair.
Juice
Like
bag.
you want the inside of the lobster.
Yeah.
You want the Capri Sun of a.
Can I just eat tofu? I can eat tofu.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Or
that's the situation.
or
like,
Or this
eat-
stuff.
eat
I would
this
eat this
stuff.
stuff.
well,
No problem.
in the end, like if we wanted to, we could just eat like fucking carrots and vegetables.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Carrots
roots.
and other vegetables. I couldn't think of another one. It's the only,
Roots
it's the
and
only
leaves.
vegetable I could
Those
think of.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, just fucking leaves.
Yeah. Lettuce. That's another vegetable, right?
You got to
Yep.
one. Good
There
job,
we go.
Sam.
Do you want to hear
what
my
are-
other really fast gross
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Wait,
what? No,
before-
let's.
What are you gonna name the maggot business? Because you're really good at naming things, like holy fucking science. So I wondered if you had a name.
I feel like
yet.
Holy Fucking Science is the name that has held this podcast back.
No.
No way, it's
People
amazing.
love it.
Okay.
Stefan and I went to like a fancy thing for nonprofits, and they asked us to come and teach them about video, and we were like, yes, these are the things we produce. And then we listed them off, and I was like, and a podcast called Holy Fucking Science. And it really broke the ice, and then everybody asked lots of good questions. They like all laughed, and then they're like, okay, that's what this is.
All right, now we
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
We can have some proper fun. now.
Everybody
Oh,
loves a swear. Yeah.
Ooh, a swear word. But before we get to your weirdness, I'm gonna make people sit through the outro,
Oh,
and then
yes.
you're gonna have to
Sam's
wait.
the anchor at the
So
end.
you're gonna hear all of our outro before we get to Sam's thing.
Everyone's probably already heard of the thing I'm going to talk about, but
I
that's all right.
haven't.
I'm sorry to make it.
No, it's going to be really good though.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining me. Who's been here?
I have been Alyssa Lerner.
I'm Sam Schultz.
I'm Caitlin Hofmeister.
I'm Hank Green. This podcast was controlled from behind the scenes by Hiroka. Thank you, Hiroka. If you want to check us out, you can watch live streams of this by being a patron of SciShow at patreon.com/SciShow. If you want to watch us on YouTube, we are at youtube.com/holyfunkscience. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, we are also, you can just search for HFS on your podcast app because they don't like the word fuck. And now,
Is it officially HFS on?
if you search for HFS, you'll find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I made it happen.
Oh.
And now we're going to have Sam tell us our weird, most disgusting food ever.
This is the grossest food I ever heard of. Have you ever heard of the Ortolan bunting?
It's a bird?
It's a bird. It's a migratory. I'm just going to read you straight from Wikipedia because every sentence is horrifying. The birds are caught with nets set during their autumn migratory flights to Africa. It's a French delicacy. They are then kept in covered cages or boxes. This artificial night causes the birds to gorge themselves on grain until they double their bulk. And then in quotes, Roman emperors stabbed out the birds' eyes in order to make the birds think it was night, making them eat even more, end quotes. The birds then are thrown into a container of, I don't know this word, but I think it's cognac. It's some kind of...
Cognac.
Yeah,
It's like a liqueur.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not
alcohol.
that word. It's Armagnac. I think it's some kind of
But it's some
variation
sort
of
of like
cognac.
sweet liqueur.
It's definitely an alcohol, though.
Okay.
yeah. And they are drowned in this alcohol and then marinated in the alcohol that they are drowned in.
It's a brandy.
Then they're roasted and plucked, and then the consumer places the bird feet first into their mouth while holding onto the bird's head. They're eaten whole.
How big
without
are they?
The head.
But they have
They're little
feathers.
songbirds.
Do they take the feathers off?
They take the feathers off before they serve them. They're little songbirds. The bird is eaten whole with or without the head, and the consumer spits out the larger bones. The traditional French way is to cover your head with a large napkin while consuming
It's
the bird.
dead by this point, right? Because it's been
It's
soaked
cooked.
in Armagnac.
It's roasted after it's cooked.
Okay.
Or after it's
It's
drowned.
roasted.
Yeah.
Sam's 2 beers in.
Yeah. That's true. Okay, so the purpose of the towel over the head is debated, but some claim it is to retain the aroma underneath the towel. But other people are to claim that it is to hide yourself from God because you're eating a cute little bird. And then other people say it's because it looks really gross when you pull the little bones out of your mouth.
Right. No,
Well,
that
that's
makes
France for
like
you.
I like
Yeah.
reason number 3. If this were wait, don't tell me, I'd go for C there because like
Yeah.
you're just like
Yeah.
I got a bunch of
Yeah.
vertebra.
So that's the grossest food I've ever heard
That
of.
is awful. I had
Yeah.
not heard of that, and now I have. And
Fat
that is
little birds.
entirely 100% roasted, soaked in
Drowned in brandy,
then
and soaked.
roasted.
Then roasted. Poke their eyes out, maybe.
Maybe if you want to, or
Catch
you
them
can
while
just
they're
keep 'em dark.
migrating. Keep
Yeah.
them in a dark box. It's bad news all the way
all
around.
the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
I
terrible.
had
Thank
never
you,
heard
Sam.
of that. Yeah.
That
Well-
was entirely 100% new information for us.
See you, folks.
See you.
Good night.
See you, folks.
Bon
This has been an
appetit.
absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys, and this has been
Holy fucking science.